Conspiracy theories are fun. Most of the time they're absolute nonsense, but every so often you'll read one that leaves you questioning everything, and if you're a huge fan of games, there's nothing worse than when you read a video game conspiracy theory that makes you realise that all the time that you've invested into your favourite game was for absolutely nothing. It was all just a big lie. I'm Joe Hendry from What Culture Gaming, and this is 6 video game conspiracy theories that ruin your favourite games. In at number 6, Metal Gear Solid 3 is a virtual mission. What? This is in my opinion one of the greatest games of all time. It's the story, the gameplay, but also the attention to detail. It's an amazing experience, but what if I told you that this wasn't the epic rise of the boss? This was in fact just a simulation of that, a mere recreation of these events experienced by someone else. And to be fair, it does kinda point it out. They call it the virtuous mission, at which point Snake asks the virtual mission before he's corrected by the Colonel. And if you know Kojima, you know he doesn't put things in his games by accident. If it didn't mean something, it just wouldn't be there. For example, if you kill Revolver Ocelot, it creates a time paradox, and you get shouted at saying, "No, you've changed the future." So someone knows the future, and that person is none other than Roy Campbell, your mentor, who isn't present in Metal Gear Solid 3. Strange. In the game, the calorie mate replenishes your health, but it didn't exist until the early 1980s. They also reference the JFK Academy, which wasn't around until, you guessed it, the early 80s, and there's major references about James Bond movies that weren't around until the early 80s. However, this mission is supposed to take place in the 60s. I mean, it could be a mistake, right? No, it couldn't be a mistake, because Kojima in this game allows you to kill a guard, have an animal eat the guard, you kill the animal, eat the animal, which prompts a cutscene with the guard saying, "You ate me," as a ghost. The man likes his attention to detail. And be careful, because here's a Metal Gear Solid 5 spoiler now, so leave if you haven't completed it. But in the early 80s, there is the creation of a second big boss. Major Zero creates Venom Snake, giving him all the memories and experiences of Big Boss. And how do we achieve that? Perhaps by having Venom Snake go through all of Naked Snake's experiences from Metal Gear Solid 3, when? In the 1980s. To be precise, 1984, just after Calorie Mate, Never Say Never, and the JFK training facility opens. Perhaps Metal Gear Solid 3 is in fact a direct prequel to Metal Gear Solid 5. In at number 5, Mario is a mass murderer. We've heard some interesting themes about the Mario games, but one of my favourites is that Mario 3 is all just a performance, and there's actually a lot of evidence to suggest that's the case, but you've all heard that one. So what if I told you that Mario is a mass murderer, selfishly collecting the souls of the dead for his own gain? Hang on a second, how so? Well, let's look at it. Every time you collect 100 coins, you get an extra life, basically increasing your lifespan. And every time you kill a flower with a fireball, you gain a coin. Every time you hit a brick, you get a coin. But what's the problem with that? It doesn't seem too out of the ordinary, right? Well, that is until you check the original game manual, because it reads, and I quote, "One day the kingdom of the peaceful mushroom people was invaded by the Koopa, a tribe of turtles famous for their black magic." Alright, we're getting a bit dark there. It goes on to say the quiet, peace-loving mushroom people were turned into mere stones, bricks, and even field horsehair plants, and the mushroom kingdom fell into ruin. Wait a second, they were turned into bricks? Bricks? So Mario's answer to this problem is not to try and revive them, but to just smash the bricks without a care and collect their life force, increasing Mario's 1-ups every single day. Every time you smash a brick, you're devouring the soul of one of the Toad's people. No wonder he feels obligated to shower you with gifts in Super Mario 3. It sounds like Mario is a psychopathic mercenary taking advantage of a post-apocalyptic world, stealing the life force of all in the universe. And if you don't think that Mario's evil, wait until you hear about this. Mario was punching Yoshi in the back of the head to make him stick his tongue out, and that one is confirmed. In at number 4, every Call of Duty mission is an escort mission. Do you remember Resident Evil 4? Do you remember Ashley? What I'm talking about here is the character that you had to escort through various precarious situations, and her AI was terrible. She was frustrating, she was annoying, constantly getting herself into danger, and they had to even create a game mode where she's housed in an invulnerable suit of armour, just so you can focus on the task at hand. But what if I told you that in Call of Duty, you are the Ashley? Think about it. You're constantly having to be looked after by everyone else in the game and told what to do explicitly by other characters, right from the very beginning and throughout. You're required to fill in certain gaps in the plot, and when you die, you respawn next to the main characters, or the people who are the real heroes of the game. Perhaps you're just the idiot that's holding everyone up. In at number 3, every Legend of Zelda game is a retelling of the same story. Many players notice that in the Breath of the Wild there are several elements in the game that leave us confused about where the game lies in the official timeline. After the first memory cutscene, many thought that this game takes place after Four Swords in the child timeline, but there are issues with this in the adult timeline, leaving people to think that it's perhaps a converging timeline. Cool, no problem. But what if I told you there was no timeline? As Zelda fans know, every game is referenced in Breath of the Wild, which is possible only if A, it's a converging timeline, or B, there is no timeline. Ding! In Breath of the Wild, the narrator says a line that got fans thinking. Stories of Ganon were passed down from generation to generation in the form of legends and fairy tales. Perhaps The Legend of Zelda is just a story that's passed down from generation to generation, and each game is just a different retelling or understanding of the same adventure from a different perspective. Making the whole endeavour quite, well, pointless really. Moving on to number 2, surely this one's safe, Pokemon. It was the foundation of my childhood, all the battling and the cute Pokemon, it was just wholesome fun entertainment. But in at number 2, what if I told you that Pokemon takes place in a terrifying post-war dystopia? That's right, it seems that Pokemon takes place in a dystopia that's darker than Fallout 4. A conversation with Lieutenant Surge informs you that an electric-type Pokemon saved his life during the war, and then you realise that perhaps you're the first generation to live in peace in this post-war dystopia. Let's look at the facts. First of all, your dad is not present in the game and your mother refers to you as the man of the house. Now you're a man! And also, everyone in the game is either young or old. There seems to be no middle ground. There's a severe lack of adult population in the game unless they're old or they have a job in the military or organised crime. It's almost that all of those in between were drafted for a Great War. This has sent game theorists into overdrive who believe that there was a Great War between the Kanto and Johto regions, and it's notable that there's a distinct lack of communication between regions and individuals, and there seems to be an eerie disconnect between everyone in the Pokemon universe. And now that the theory has been brought to my attention, when you play the games, there's just something that's a little bit off, a little bit unsettling, a little bit eerie, and for God's sakes, who remembers Missingo? But that's for another day. And in at number 1, our final conspiracy theory of the day from Final Fantasy VII. What if I told you, and this is a spoiler, that AERIS wasn't supposed to die? Okay, so this is widely regarded as one of, if not the saddest video game moment of all time, when AERIS was killed by Sephiroth. Never before had a video game evoked such powerful emotions around the death of a character, and it's particularly amazing that it does so when in retrospect the graphics look like a bunch of Duplo blocks having an adventure. However, we accept that AERIS' death was an important part in what makes this game so iconic, but what if I told you she wasn't supposed to die? Many experts and people living in their parents' basements believe that the game is scattered with evidence that suggests the resurrection of AERIS was supposed to be a key moment of the game, and we know that the budget and development time for the game were enormous, and perhaps getting in that all-important resurrection was just a bridge too far before the release date. Let's investigate. So in the final battle, just before it commences, each character has a ledge to stand on, and there is a ledge for AERIS. Why would this be the case? Not only that, in the Japanese version of the game, if you use the Game Shark, good old Game Shark, to revive her, AERIS has dialogue that isn't there without the cheat, and this comes into the game after she dies, so if it wasn't meant to be there, if she wasn't meant to have dialogue, why would it be there? Not only this, a key part of the game's artwork is AERIS looking up at the Highwind, a scenario that could never occur because you only encounter the Highwind well after AERIS has perished. Not only that, there's also a very telling quote from Tifa in a conversation with Cloud where she says, "I don't think that's it at all. I think she didn't think she would die at all, but she planned on coming back all along. She always used to talk about the next time, and she talked about the future more than any of us." That seems to be enough evidence to get people thinking, but will it be addressed in the remake? We wait with bated breath. I've been Joe Hendry from What Culture Gaming. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, go to whatculture.com for all your favorite news, reviews, and features. Also, if you want to follow us on Twitter, please do so via the Twitter handle right here. Thank you so much for watching, and we shall see you again next time.